Okay. Whoops. Set 5.5, section in set 5.5, equations with rational expressions. Look for the LCD. So what we're doing is exactly what we did in 5.4, except we have an equation now, not an expression. This was complex fractions. We were looking for the LCD just to figure out what to do to whittle it down. But now we can solve because we're setting equal. So we have fractions set equal. The key is LCD. You want to find the least common denominator. We'll multiply every fraction by the LCD. That means the denominator goes away. Because we're multiplying by the least common denominator, we don't have to worry about flipping and multiplying everything because it's going away. So example 3, I worked out and I made some notes. Now, what happens is our LCD needs x minus 2. It also needs 3. So we have 3 times x minus 2 is the LCD. If you look at this, what you have to do now in this section, you have to look at the denominator, the LCD, and anything that results in a 0 is not a possible solution. So once you find the LCD, you automatically know 2 does not work. So if 2 is one of your answers, you know that that's not right, so you discount it. And here, when we solve, we find out blah, 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 5x equals 2, or 10, x equals 2. X equals 2 is our only solution. X equals 2 does not work. That means there is no solution. So if you solve and get an answer, but the book says no solution, go back and plug it in. And either you made a mistake somewhere or you got it right and forgot to plug it back in. Okay, then example 6. Example 6 was a squared. So we're going to have 2 possibilities. We have a 5 and a -4 as possibilities. If we look up in here, we can say, okay, here's our possibilities, but 5 would result in a 0, because if we put a 5 here or a 5 here, you can see we're going to have a 0 in the denominator, and that doesn't happen. We can't have that. So when you get any answer, because this was just one, when you get an answer, just double check. So that's a big key in set 5.5. Double check to see which answer works or if no answers work. If only one works, write that answer down. If none of them work, there's no solution. And here, I just showed how you can move things around because it said solve for y, for example 7. So you just want to solve for y, move it around. Solve for x, move things around, and then they showed you graphing. All right, let me get into a couple of the actual problems for this one. Now, what we will do is we will look here and say, I'll go underneath here. We need to find the LCD. The LCD, I know, is x plus 1. Now I look for more, x plus 1. Okay, it has it, nothing else. My LCD is x plus 1. So what happens is we multiply all of them. And again, I didn't leave myself room. But what I'm going to say is multiply everything by x plus 1. I'll put it over 1 just to help keep track. We're multiplying all 3 of these. This one, this one, this one. Well, you can already see what happens. And I'll show you, well, let me show you why. We'll do this. I'll take the long route on this one, short route after this. We're going to multiply this whole thing by the LCD. Then set it equal to this times the LCD. Plus 2 times the LCD. This shows why we don't flip and multiply ever, because when we multiply by the LCD, we're eliminating it from the denominator. So we end up with x plus 2 here. Cat just knocked one of my sharpened pencils down. Equals, now this is 1. I don't want you to lose track of this. A lot of students will. That went away. However, we still had 1. We had a 1 here. We have 1. We have to include that. 1 plus 2 times x plus 1. So I'm going to go ahead and factor it out because I can solve at this point. I'll take one more step. What I have is 2x on this side. 1 plus 2 is 3. Now I am going to eliminate my x from the left simply because, and I'll move to the right in a minute, simply because I want a positive. I don't want to have to divide by a negative. So then by doing that, I'm going to subtract 3. And when I do, I have negative 1 equals x. So my x equals negative 1. However, and what you'd notice if you did number 17 already, and you got negative 1 and looked and it said no solution and you were confused because I hadn't done this lecture yet, x equals negative 1. That's my only possible solution. When I plug that in, I would have 0 on the bottom. That's why we have no solution, null set. So no solution because it was a negative 1 and that doesn't work. So when you get an answer, don't just write it down. It's kind of like people that use calculator and they just trust it no matter what it says. We could have made a mistake, an error, and we just trust it. When you get an answer, check it, plug it back in. So now number 30, what I have to do is expand this a bit first because I need to know what my actual LCD is. So I have t plus 3 on the top. I'm going to factor a t out. T times t plus 2, or minus. See, I almost messed that up. T minus 2. And then that's set equal to 10 over. And then I'm going to factor this difference of perfect squares out to t plus 2, t minus 2. So that means my LCD is this piece for sure, t times t minus 2. And I go over here, I have the t minus 2, but I got a new one. I have t plus 2. I need to incorporate that. So I'm going to put that in there. So what I'm doing is multiplying both of these now by this piece to see what I end up with. So this one, well, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do the long run. This one, I have t plus 3 times my whole LCD, but I already know that that part will cancel out. So what I'm going to have is t plus 2. So I'm going to have my t plus 3 times t plus 2 here. Now I'm not writing the whole thing out like I did up here. When I multiply the whole LCD up top, these two are already incorporated. So I just need to multiply by the t plus 2. So then the same thing over on the other side of the equals, I have 10 times whatever's missing. Well, my t plus 2, t minus 2 is right here. I'm just missing t. So what this becomes is, and I'm going to factor this out so I know what to do, t squared plus 2t plus 3t is plus 5t plus 6 equals 10t. Now I need to incorporate this. Once we have a squared, remember, think set equal to 0. When we have a squared, think gotta set it equal to 0. That means I'm going to bring this over here. I'm going to subtract my 10t. When I subtract my 10t, I'm going to have minus 5t plus 6 equals 0. Now I'm incorporating a lot of what we've already learned in previous chapters because now I have to factor out to set equal to 0. I have a positive 6. That's a negative times a negative or a positive times a positive. I know it's a negative times a negative here. and I'm just flipping things around. I went from +5. I went from +3 +2 is +5t, positive, I should say. Well, now I can have both negatives and get a -5. So all I did was switch these. T minus 3, t minus 2 equals 0. So possible solutions are t equals 3, t equals 2. Those aren't both for sure absolute results. We have to plug them back in and check. We have to test. Well, I already know my 3 is safe. There is no 3. But my 2, if I plug a 2 in right here, I would have 2 minus 2 is 0. Everything would be 0. My 2 does not work. So my only solution is t equals 3. Now we'll do number 37, and then we'll call it good. Again, I need to find out what happens on the bottom. Put it up a little bit here. When I pull a y out, I have y times y minus 1. And I'm subtracting 6 over, well, this one becomes y plus 1, y minus 1. Maybe this was a bad one to choose because it basically is the same thing as the top, only with a y instead of a t. Oh well. It's already set equal to 0. So what we'll do here, I'll stick with the same method I've been doing. I'll put the LCD down here. I already know I have y times y minus 1, and I'm missing y plus 1. I guess I shouldn't have chosen this one. It's literally the same thing I just did with a y instead of a t, sorry. So y times y minus 1, y plus 1. So when I start multiplying, I have my y plus 2 here. I'm going to multiply that by what's missing. I have my y minus 1. I'm just missing a y plus 1. Minus 6 times whatever I'm missing here. I mean, it's just like number 30. I apologize for that. My 6 times whatever's missing, well, I'm missing a y. It's all set equal to 0, so I don't have to move anything. So I have y squared. And I have plus y plus 2 is plus 3y. I hear my 3-year-old running around out there. I'm nervous that she's going to come in. Let me see if I can finish real quick. 6y equals 0. Okay, so now all I have to do is take care of this difference here. I have y squared. I have a 3y minus 6y. So negative 3y plus 2 equals 0. And what I do is I factor out, and I know that if I have a negative 2 times a negative 1, I get a positive 2, and that would give me negative 1y, negative 2y, negative 3y. My possible solutions, y equals 2, y equals 1. I look in here, just like number 30. I look in here and I see, well, let's see, if I put 1 here, it's a 0. So I can't have that. But my 2 will work. So y equals 2 only. So the biggest key, I would say, with section 5 is double checking your answers. Okay, hopefully you enjoyed that. I did. I thought it was